morning, and thank you so much for being here at our 9th annual State of the Schools event hosted by the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber. Outside the room, I hope that you noticed some collection boxes that were set up to collect school supplies, which will be donated to the Oklahoma City Public Schools Foundation in coordination with the American Fidelity Foundation. Those supplies will go to the Teacher's Warehouse, which is a program under the foundation, and it's a fabulous program. If you haven't heard about it, you need to find out more. It is a very unique program, not only here in Oklahoma, but also nationally. The foundation staff often gets calls about how to replicate this program. Essentially, it allows teachers to go online and place orders, the items that they need for their classrooms, to be used for their children, used kind of office supplies. It really is a phenomenal tool, and it's a very unique way that this community, individuals, businesses, through the foundation, have found a way to support our teachers and our education system. Since the inception of this program in 2008, over $1 million of school supplies have been donated to classrooms. That's absolutely phenomenal. Now, I think we need to take a moment to recognize today's signature sponsor for this event, Cox Business. Please welcome the Vice President of Cox Business, Randy Chandler.
Well, thank you very much for attending today's Greater Oklahoma City Chamber's State of the Schools event. Cox is really very proud again to be the sponsor for this event. At Cox, we care about education, and we support it in several important ways. We partner to provide the state-of-the-art telecom services to many of the school districts here in our area. We also provide cable in the classroom for TV and internet in more than 350 schools. In the last 5 years, our employees through the Cox Connects Foundation have awarded 111 Innovations in Education grants, and that equals more than $350,000 to local teachers. Cox just announced a very important partnership with Connects to Compete, and you can see that in your information that was handed out today. And this partnership will bring low-cost internet to the homes of economically disadvantaged students to really narrow the gap in the digital divide. When we invest in education, we are creating a rich talent pool for all of our future because we will need those students as our employees. So on behalf of Cox and all of our Cox employees, we want to thank you for supporting education and joining us here today to hear from Chancellor Glen Johnson and Oklahoma City Public Schools Chairperson Lynne Hardin. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. We very much appreciate Cox Business for not only sponsoring this event, but for everything that you're doing to move forward public education in Oklahoma. Okay, so we're getting ready to hear from our first speaker. We have 2 speakers today. Now, at the end of each speaker's comments, we will have an opportunity to do a little Q&A. So please, as you're hearing the comments from our speakers, think about questions. Either write them down, or if you're like me, you have to write them down. But if you're younger and you've got a bigger brain, you can just keep them stored up there. At the end of each comment, we will have some staff people around the room, so just raise your hand and we will hopefully have some interesting questions and some interesting discussion. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker. Dr. Glen D. Johnson is the Chief Executive Officer for the Oklahoma State System of Higher Education. He became the 8th chancellor to hold this position and began serving in January of 2007. Dr. Johnson leads a state system comprised of 25 colleges and universities, 10 constituent agencies, 2 higher education centers, and independent colleges and universities coordinated within this large system. Before assuming this challenging role, Johnson served as the 16th president of Southeastern Oklahoma State University in Durant for 10 years, and he served as the director of public policy and an adjunct professor at the University of Oklahoma College of Law. Prior to his work at OU, Johnson served in the House of Representatives from 1982 to 1996 and was Speaker of the House from 1990 to 1996. At the time of his election, he was the youngest sitting speaker in the United States. So he started his success early, is what we know. Please help me welcome the Chancellor of Oklahoma State System of Higher Education, Dr. Glen Johnson.
Well, thank you very much, Teresa, and it's really a pleasure for me to be here today to visit with you about higher education and the role that, frankly, not only our Oklahoma City Chamber, but all of us can play in building a brighter future for our students in Oklahoma. I want to focus my comments specifically on our system of higher education. And when I start, let me take a moment to thank those with the Oklahoma City Chamber that work with us on building a very strong agenda for education in Oklahoma. Roy Williams and Drew Dugan, the board of directors, which certainly we're proud to serve with, have all had a great vision for what we need to do to improve our educational system in the state. From our education standpoint, I think it would be fair to say that we are in the midst of changing times, not only in education, but certainly as we see the events that are going on both nationally and internationally. I think it's important to note that, and a number of our institutions are represented here today, that we are forging significant partnerships with businesses, with other educational institutions as we are moving forward. Also, I think it's important to note that as we do this, the data really tells the entire story. And the data tells us that our place, Oklahoma's place in this new knowledge-based global economy, will be determined in large part by the commitment that our state policy leaders make to education at all levels. So let me begin today. We have several legislators here. Just as I came up here, Senator Jolly, the Senate Appropriations Committee chair, came in. Last year, in a very tough year, the legislature made the priority decision to increase funding for education, both at the career tech, the common ed, and the higher ed level. Very much appreciated, and certainly we want to acknowledge that. As we look, I thought it might be important, and Drew Dugan actually asked me to start by providing a little background on the way our state system of higher education is organized. And so, very briefly, and I understand the importance of brevity, we are constitutionally organized. In 1941, the voters created a unified system of higher education that's comprised of all the public institutions in our state system. For the first 30 years in our state, there literally was no coordinating entity. Any institution that might have wanted to start their own law school or medical school could have done so. So in their wisdom, the voters understood there was a need for a coordinating board to coordinate the activities, the academic programs in higher education. The state regents thus were designated as the coordinating board for our state system. Our enrollment numbers, as we start classes, all of our institutions started either last week or earlier this week, currently are 194,505 students. Our system is made up of 3 tiers, which make up the 25 colleges and universities in our state system. Of course, our 2 research institutions, Oklahoma State University and the University of Oklahoma. We have 10 senior regional universities in the state, in the metro area, the University of Central Oklahoma, of course, and then the campus campuses in other locations around the state. We have 1 public liberal arts institution, the University of Science and Art in Chickasha, 12 community college, both Rose State College and OCCC here in Oklahoma City, are represented here at our event today. 11 constituent agencies, which include our law school, cooperative extension service, and others. And then we have 2 higher ed centers, one in Ardmore and one in Ponca City. Our state regents are appointed by Governor Fallin and by the governor for 9-year terms. I believe the longest terms in state government. They are confirmed by the Senate. Regent Ann Holloway on our board is here today, and I certainly want to welcome her. I might mention the 2 from the Oklahoma City metro area, Dr. Ron White, who is pictured to the side of our picture because as a cardiologist, he was involved in his work at our last meeting. And also a member of the state regents that's been a great new member, and that's Regent Mike Turpin, who has single-handedly added about 20 minutes to our meetings each month, but in the process brings quite a bit of vision to the table. I'm often asked the question, what really does a higher ed coordinating board do? So I've laid out here just a quick definition of some of our functions and responsibilities. I mentioned earlier, we determine the functions of campuses and the courses of study at our various campuses. We prescribe the standards for higher education. We grant degrees. We also, and our system is somewhat unique, we recommend to the legislature and to the governor what the budget request is for the entire state system, and then we allocate those dollars after the legislature appropriates to the state regents in a lump sum. We're also responsible for setting tuition, administering over $300 million in student scholarships. We have the state's OneNet system, our statewide telecommunication system, and we also have a college assistance program. Student debt's very important. Our college assistance program does a couple of things. On the front end, it promotes financial literacy to give students the tools they need to have where when they go to college, they don't rack up so much debt that they have to drop out of college in order to pay their credit cards. And then we also have a very aggressive student loan default prevention area to help students with their student loans. That's what the coordinating board does, and I would contrast that with the functions of our governing boards, which each campus within our system has a governing board, and I've seen several governing board regents here today, and welcome to all of them. I would describe their responsibilities as more of the management function of the university. The governing board, I would say their most important responsibility is to hire the president. They determine personnel, they review contracts, they transact all of the building business that needs to be done at the institutions. They administer the auxiliary services, whether that be vending or housing or bookstore needs, and they take care of the management of the institution. I hope that snapshot is helpful. What I want to talk about today is really the heart of what we do, and that is the value of a college degree and the value of higher education. Our governor has made it very clear that we have to have, if we're going to be competitive, we have to have the best educated and the most productive workforce that we can assemble. I think our state regents and I believe that means we need to make a commitment to any student, whether they're right out of high school going to college or they're an adult student who's coming back to college that have dropped out for whatever reason. If they demonstrate that they can perform in college, then we need to give them the access or the ability to go to college, and we do that through a variety of our scholarship and financial aid programs. We also need to challenge our students to perform at higher levels and to work harder and longer because, again, looking at the numbers in this 21st century knowledge-based economy, the numbers tell us that over 90% of the fastest growing jobs will require a college degree or certification. The data also tells us that we're below the national average in terms of the percentage of our citizens that have college degrees. Nationally, and you look at these numbers, approximately 28% of our citizens nationally have college degrees. That number right now in Oklahoma is at 23.8%. So we've got work to do, but the good news is we have a plan to accomplish that task. I'm asked, is a college degree really that important? And my answer is emphatically yes. The numbers show that there's a strong, almost complete correlation between college degree attainment, a state's per capita income, and the strength of a state's economy. In fact, if you look at the numbers here, You don't have a state that has a high percentage of their citizens with college degrees that have low per capita incomes. And conversely, the states that have a low percentage of their citizens with college degrees, none of them have the high per capita incomes. So there is almost a complete correlation between degree attainment, the strength of an economy in a state, and the per capita income in the state. The U.S. Census Bureau recently came out with some very interesting information here. And you look at the slide, I'll just focus on for a moment the bachelor degree component. The slide tells us that on an average, if you compare a high school diploma holder to a college degree holder, that the college degree holder on an average will earn $28,000 a year more. It also shows that the college degree holder is less likely to experience unemployment and will have health insurance. You take that number over an entire professional career, and you see again, comparing the high school diploma holder to the college degree holder, that the person with the college degree over a career lifetime will earn $1.1 million. And certainly, we would submit that's not even the most important reason to earn a degree, but there is compelling economic reasons to do so. Bringing it home to Oklahoma, it's also worth noting that according to the most recent survey and data released by our state's Employment Security Commission, looking at graduates of Oklahoma colleges and universities 1 year after graduation, 89% of our graduates remain in the state of Oklahoma, but more importantly have jobs in the state of Oklahoma 1 year after graduation. We believe one of the primary reasons that's happening is because our colleges and universities have made a much more concerted effort to link our academic programs more directly to what business tells us that they need, particularly in the areas that we've listed here in healthcare, nursing, engineering, business, aviation, and then in new programs like wind turbine technology at OCCC as an example. The relationship between our chamber and Boeing has been something that's another very good example of linking those programs together. And we've also been very pleased to be a partner with the chamber on the Greater Grads program, which we all know when we develop internships, that gives students a hook to stay in the state and to stay with the company where they're working. I also think it's important to note, as we go forward, we have challenges. One of the challenges is online education. We put together a task force to address what our game plan will be in Oklahoma for our entire state system with the onset of MOOCs, and with the onset of all of the new technologies. We believe it's important that we're not reacting, but that we have a customized plan for what online education will be for our students in the state of Oklahoma going forward. We certainly have challenges on the financial end, and that's why I think it was important to note the very strong support we've had from our governor and our legislature. But due to the national recession back in 2008, you can see from the chart here that not just higher ed, but really every area of government, the budget was reduced significantly. In our case, about 8.3%. If you look at it over the last 35 years, higher education's share of total state appropriation has fallen from 18.6% in 1980 down to 14.6% this year. Looking at it another way in terms of how much of the higher ed dollar comes from state appropriation, that number has dropped in the last 25 years from essentially 75% back in 1988 all the way down to 39% today. Obviously, we ask why. There's two major reasons, as Senator Jolly knows. The first reason, of course, is the significant increase in health care costs. The second is an exponential increase in the corrections budget. Our situation has been complicated further because during the time when the budgets have been cut, we've seen the most dramatic increase in enrollment in state's history. Over the last 5 years, a 14,000 student increase, which obviously means students and parents understand that they need a degree if they're going to be competitive, but putting more pressure on our system with budgets being reduced and more students coming into the system. Which obviously raises the question, what have we done on tuition? And I really think this is a great story for Oklahoma, particularly when you compare what Oklahoma's done to what's happened at the national level. You can see over the last 5 years, back in 2009, we were one of only 2 states in the country to have no increase. And essentially over the last 4 years, our increase has averaged right at 4%. And you compare that to the national scale and you look at some of the 5-year percentage increases with the states listed, 78% in Arizona, 72% in California. Specifically, California had back-to-back increases, 1 year of 32%, another of 31%. So Oklahoma has taken a much different tack and certainly been, we believe, much more sensitive to the needs of students and parents as they earn their degrees. Some good news on the National Chamber front, according to our U.S. Chamber of Commerce that rated the higher ed systems in the 50 states. 3 great takeaways here. Our system was ranked the 8th most efficient in the United States, the 7th most affordable, and the category of affordability was not just tuition and fees, but it was housing and books and all the related costs of going to college, and 19th in STEM growth, in growth specifically in jobs in the STEM areas. And a number of you were at our summit on Tuesday with Governor Fallin, where we talked specifically about how we can close that gap and produce more STEM graduates. Student debt is another area that I want to mention very quickly, and again, we are ranking very, very well nationally in this category. According to the Student Success Institute for College Access and Success, in a report that was released last October, our state, the state of Oklahoma, placed 8th in the nation in terms of students leaving college with the least amount of student debt, which is exactly where we want to be. And all this comes down to what will be, not just for this year, but for the next 12 years, our top priority in higher education, and that is degree completion through Complete College America. I will very quickly run through this. Governor Fallin kicked this off 2 years ago in Oklahoma. The reason was very simple. Over the last 2 decades, we have slipped, the United States has slipped from being first in the world in college degree production all the way down to 16th. And we all believe that's not satisfactory and that's not where we're going to stay. So as a result, we have kicked off the Complete College America initiative. 33 states are participating with a specific goal of producing more college graduates, more college degrees and certificates in the state of Oklahoma. The governor has provided great leadership. We set goals. Our goal over the 12-year period is to move all the way from our current number of 30,500 degrees and certificates to 50,912 years. An ambitious goal, it's a 67% increase. To do that, we have a 5-point plan. I won't go into a lot of detail on it other than to say the leadership at Complete College America has said and has told Governor Fallin this is the best plan of any of the 33 participating states, and it really makes sense. It focuses on preparing students to be ready for college. It focuses on remediation, to get away from the blame game, to get students the remediation they need in order to start earning courses for college credit. It strengthens the pathways with our partners in Career Tech towards degrees and certificates that we can count. Our new Secretary of Education, Bob Summers, is here today, and we've already started working on that project since he's come on board. Adult degree completion. We know that the population from high school to college is starting to level off, so we've got to look at adult learners if we're going to be successful in producing more college graduates. Those students that have stopped out for whatever reason, coming back to college, there's 70,000 of them in this state, if you can imagine this, that have 72 hours or more towards their degree, but they don't have their college degree. And through our Reach Higher initiative in higher education, we're getting those students back in college and customizing a program to get them the opportunity to earn an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree. Finally, rewarding performance. We have moved to a performance-based funding model where now funding for our colleges and universities is based entirely on their opportunities to increase their retention rates and ultimately their graduation rates. I think it's really important to note we set goals. Our goal as a state system was to increase the degree production by 1,700 additional graduates. The first year numbers are in. We have not only met that goal, but we've exceeded the goal, producing over 2,900 degrees and certificates in year one, so our state system should be congratulated. I also want to talk about something that most other states regard as the best college access program in the country, Oklahoma's Promise. The criteria is very simple. You sign up in the 8th, 9th, and 10th grade. If your family income is below $50,000, if you stay out of trouble, you take the core curriculum and you maintain a 2.5, the state of Oklahoma will pay for your college tuition. You look at the numbers. providing opportunities this year to over 19,000 students that can achieve in college but need the opportunity to go to college. This program is transformational and will be transformational in the future in terms of our degree completion goals. I also want to mention very quickly our concurrent enrollment initiative, where juniors and seniors can take courses for college credit while they're still in high school. Our Cooperative Alliance initiative with Career Tech, where students can take courses for college credit while they're in Career Tech. And we have many instances before our students set foot on our college campus, they've already have 30 hours or more in the bank towards their college degree. And it gets them in the pipeline of knowing that they can achieve in college. Very quickly, we will continue to be aggressive in our efforts to oppose any legislation that provides for the carrying of concealed weapons on our campuses. Our system of higher education strongly believes there's really no scenario where guns on campus do anything other than promote a much more dangerous environment for students, faculty, staff, and visitors on our campuses. So we will continue our efforts. We've been successful stopping legislation for the last 5 sessions. More good news, we have our partners with the State Chamber, with the Department of Commerce, and with the Governor's Business Roundtable commissioned a study to look at the economic impact of higher education in Oklahoma. Great results from that study. Higher ed has a $9.2 billion impact on our economy in this state, is responsible for creating over 85,000 jobs. In terms of return on investment for every dollar the legislature and governor appropriates to higher education, $4.72 is returned directly to the state's economy, and over $360 million is generated from our research component, again, dollars going directly into the economy. So it helps us make the case that certainly what we do in higher education is among the best investments made by our policy leaders in the state of Oklahoma. Finally, a year ago, our Secretary of Commerce, Dave Lopez, and the governor came together to put together a survey of 5,400 business leaders on the best strengths that business has and the obstacles that our businesses have for success. We were very happy that the #1 business strength cited by business leaders in the state was the quality of our 2-year and 4-year college and university system in the state of Oklahoma. And drilling down further from those numbers, 87% of those surveyed said that our system of higher education was either excellent or very good. I just want to conclude by saying, I know we need to get into questions, but we believe strongly that our work is important work. We believe that our message is the right one, and working together with our policy leaders and with the business community, we believe we can, through what we do, we can make a more positive impact on our state than anything else that's out there. So with that, I thank you for your attention. I'll be glad to answer questions if we have time. Thank you so much.
Okay, so as we said, we've got some folks, some staff that are positioned around the room. So questions. What questions do we have from the audience? Yes, right here.
On one of your slides, you showed the decrease of appropriations.
Yes.
Talk about the impact that the economy and tax cuts had on that. Could you briefly go over that?
Well, yes, I will. But okay, the question was the slide that showed during the recession our budget, and frankly I will say Common Ed and Career Tech's budgets were all cut in the neighborhood of 8 to 9% because of the decline in revenues. Specifically, again, I want to provide a thank you to the legislature because they didn't make across-the-board cuts. They made priority decisions, and the educational components were actually reduced less than some of the other areas of government, which indicated clearly that funding education was a priority, even though it was a reduction instead of an increase. In terms of the impact on the tax cut, and Senator Jolly can provide more information, at this point there has been no impact because that's taking effect going forward. So we'll have to see what it will be, and of course with that also, our revenue situation this year, for the first time in 5 years, was a positive revenue situation. Most agencies experienced slight increases in their budget. We'll just have to see in terms of the economic projections. Basically, this last month, it looked like they were on about a 5% increase in comparison to where they were a year ago. We're going to have to see how strongly the economy bounces back in terms of revenues to state government, and then what the impact of the tax cut will be in the next year to really see where we stand on that.
Other questions? Come on, this is a smart group.
Sure. Well, I think, Lynn, the point there has been, and again, this hasn't been anything that's been recently, over the last 20 years or so, as everyone here sees in their business, there's been a significant increase in health care costs, and from the state's vantage point, the amount of money that has to go to Medicaid. In conjunction with that, due to some federal court orders and other issues relating to our prisons, the percentage of the budget going directly to corrections has also increased. Again, as you look at the pie, with those two components increasing significantly, areas like education, which is the largest single component of the state budget, comprising almost 60%, it will stand to reason that as two areas receive additional dollars, those areas are going to receive a less percentage of the pie. And that's what's happened, and everyone understands the reasons, and again, because of that, we're, from a percentage standpoint, looking at less than we were 25 years ago. Well, let me just again thank the Oklahoma City Chamber. You have been great partners with us on our higher education agenda, and we look forward to a great session next year. We had a great summit on Tuesday on STEM that I mentioned, and as we go forward, I think it all comes down to education working with business to match the skills that they need for the jobs that are out there, and our commitment is to do just that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. It's always interesting to hear where the higher ed system is, especially for the business community, as we try to correlate our business needs and our business strategies with the talent that you're producing. Now, as we move into lunch service, please enjoy two videos that will help us transition from higher education to K-12. The first is a short video highlighting our recently completed intern OKC that Dr. Johnson mentioned in some of his comments, a program put on by the Oklahoma City Chamber that helps educate potential future employees that are interning in Oklahoma City about the value of Oklahoma City. This year, it was a record class with over 450 interns from 70 employers. It was amazing, energetic group, so I know that you'll enjoy the video. Then we're going to move to a video produced by the Foundation for Oklahoma City Public Schools. The foundation is one of our key partners in this city in helping to improve Oklahoma City schools. Much of the foundation's work is aimed at raising awareness among the business community as well as the general public about the challenges the district faces and to share some of the success stories that we don't always get to hear about. So please enjoy the videos, enjoy your lunch, and we will reconvene with our next speaker.
In the past, we've had in Oklahoma what's called a brain drain, and that is where we graduate students and then they go elsewhere to look for jobs.
How can we convince more young people that Oklahoma City is a place they could see themselves having a career?
We need something where we can help young, talented people integrate into this city.
This program puts our OKC interns into a 5-week program to where they can come and hear speakers talk about quality of life, talk about job opportunities.
Learning that Oklahoma City is a growing community and there's a lot of people that are choosing to stay here just because there's more jobs growing.
I have really enjoyed the intern OKC program as a way to network with a lot of people and other interns and businesses that I wouldn't have gotten the chance to meet otherwise.
It's really impressive to me the lengths that the Chamber has gone to make sure that this is a successful community and that the business network here continues to grow and that we recruit the best talent. And I think programs like this really reinforce that there's talent in our community and we want to retain it.
Just by attending all of the Intern OKC events, I realized all of the prosperous things that can come from staying in Oklahoma City after graduating.
Intern OKC is an incredible program where we're gathering interns and together to learn more about our city and the opportunities. And I think it's providing our interns a lot of ideas that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Being able to sit with people like the treasurer, heads of HR from all the different companies, it's a great way to get your name out there and just get yourself known.
I really believe that they are interested in helping promote the advancement and the growth of upcoming leaders in Oklahoma City.
The future of Oklahoma City is about as bright as I could ever imagine. Most people here have always had the opportunity to go somewhere else, but this generation is sticking around.
I would love to work and live in Oklahoma City. This is a great place to not only start your career, but also raise a family.
In terms of opportunities for students graduating from college, we're one of the best places to find a job. We're one of the lowest cost places to live. And really, we have a very diverse, vibrant economy here.
Intern OKC, for me, is a phenomenal way to meet the people that are going to be the ones who make a difference as we build this city together.
There's no question that the future of America's economies is based on the entrepreneurs and the work ethic of the next generation. And in Oklahoma City, we are taking that seriously. We're working hard to make sure that we succeed.
This is our city. It was built from the dusty plains. It was built on the backs of strong men and women. This city was built brick by brick. We are not defined by dark moments, but rise through them. We are builders and rebuilders, creators, and we are not easily broken. We look back and we see how far we've come. But now we face a new challenge, an obstacle that we will overcome, that we must overcome.
We gotta stop looking at what kids are or what we think they are. And we gotta start looking at what they can become.
They just need a lot of attention and they just need somebody to listen to their story because everybody has a story. Sometimes that's all they need is for somebody to tell them, I'm proud of you and keep going for it and you can achieve anything. I think sometimes people assume the worst because of our location. And they're not bad kids.
All right, good morning. I love you. I love you. Good morning. I love you.
When you look at these kids and you look at their lives, so many of them are in single-parent homes.
How you doing? I love you. Good morning.
And they're missing conversation. I just want to talk with somebody. I want to just sit down at a meal and let's just have a conversation. Because you have mamas and dads that are working just to make ends meet. And it's not because they don't care. It is because they care.
My teenagers is filled with a lot of drama. I went 1 year of high school, which was 9th grade. I didn't finish because my mom took me out of school and I lied to get a job. So I never graduated and I didn't have the urge to go back. I wish I would have finished it out. It just hit me. It was like, you're mom. And that's just that, and nobody else matters. This is where I am now. It's just me and my children. Our community needs a wake-up call on the reality of our kids being the future, and letting them make it somewhere besides where we are.
I'm the type of person that I'm like a sponge. Suck up everything and just give it out to people.
Exaggerations, you're exactly right. You can use lots. I just want to see them succeed in anything that they do. I mean, every parent should want that. I could have fixed my life a long time ago, and I could have been on track by now.
This makes my heart happy right here.
When you see a child like Unique and you pour into that child, see that one that grasps on and says, no, you said. No, but Miss Meldrum said. No, but she said if I do this, then this will happen. And you see that and you think, oh, that's why I teach.
The thing I like about her is that she pushes me to do stuff and not just sit here and not know what to do. She makes you happy if you come in all on upside down face. She's gonna put it back up.
Very nice, Jackie. Again, now smile. Smile. These kids will be the leaders of tomorrow if they just help them out a little and give them that extra little attention, if they help them out with resources. These kids have all the potential in the world to really lead Oklahoma City into the next generation.
There's a timeless story of a man who loved his city, and the city was dynamic and vibrant, but it fell on hard times, and its walls were torn down, and it was left defenseless and unprotected. And many years went by, and this man went along with his life, but he couldn't stop thinking about that city. He couldn't stop thinking about what could he do to change things. So he chose to give up his career, comfort, and resources to inspire others like him to rebuild the walls. And brick by brick and day by day, they did the unthinkable. Any one of us could be the man from that story. Any one of us deciding, this day I am picking up this brick and I'm placing it here. Unique in their own rights, but collectively a powerful force.
And so when you take the brick and when you take that and you say you picked it up, you chose to pick it up, you chose to carry it, and you chose to put it in the place that it needs to go. But when you think of 43,000 kids in here, and if one adult for every kid chose to do that, you would have given hope and peace and stability and everything to a child who didn't think they had it. And you did it by doing one thing.
Oklahoma City, you want to rise up? Get you a solid foundation that's real and build on it. And just keep rising.
Thank you. We hope that you were enjoying your lunch. And with us today, we have several elected and appointed officials. Among them are Robert Summers, the newly appointed Secretary of Education. And Janet Barisi, State Secretary of Public Instruction. Thanks to both you and our other public elected officials that are with us today, and we very much appreciate not only your willingness to give of your personal time and your sacrifice of serving, but we appreciate your willingness to work with the business community to support education in Oklahoma. We also have with us the Baptist Ministers Alliance joining us as special guests. We are so glad that you are here. Where are you? Can you wave? And now I am so pleased to introduce our second speaker for today. Lynne Hardin is the newly elected chair of the Oklahoma City Public Schools Board, and in that capacity, I have had the privilege of getting to know Lynne and just find her to be a fascinating, energetic, and amazing leader for what we know is one of our biggest challenges in our community. She is a 19-something graduate of Oklahoma City Public Schools. That was a favor to you, my friend. She has fostered an entrepreneur spirit since grammar school. She has been involved with for-profit and not-for-profit organizations, both here at home and around the world. Lynne started her first business in Key West, Florida in 1970, and is president and CEO of Integrated Solutions. She is a certified professional facilitator, which she desperately needs in this position, and much of her work has been in the areas of health, education, and public policy. As the executive director of the Oklahoma School of Science and Mathematics Foundation, Lynne worked to secure the financial support for one of our state's premier innovative high schools, and has also served on the board of the Oklahoma Independent Colleges and Universities Foundation. Please help me welcome the chair of the Oklahoma City Public School Board, Lynne Hardin.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Oklahoma City Chamber. And if I switch this, will this go to the, there we go, thank you. The Oklahoma City Chamber and Cox for hosting this event and the opportunity for me to talk about our children and our district. The Chamber continues to be a strong supporter of education, and I want to acknowledge Roy Williams, Drew Dugan, and Teresa Rose for your help. And also thank you to Meredith Manley, who as late as this morning was helping me. I also want to say a thank you to Superintendent Carl Springer. Carl announced his retirement on the July 1st board meeting, and it does not seem possible that his last day will actually be August 30th, this month. Carl, you've provided this district with stability during a time when school districts, and especially urban school districts, have had struggling and inconsistent leadership. So on behalf of the board, the teachers, the staff, and the Oklahoma City community, we're grateful for your commitment to education, for your commitment to all children, and for your commitment to the Oklahoma City Public Schools. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize a teacher that is in the audience, Heather Meldrum, the Oklahoma City Public Schools Teacher of the Year for 2013. And just let me say that I've got to recognize the Oklahoma City Public School Board, because as you know, although we are elected officials, there is no compensation. It's a volunteer job. So my thanks to Bob Hammock, Justin Ellis, Laura Massenot, Phil Horning, Ruth Veals, Jay Means, Ron Milliken. Thank you for your service and your help. Okay, so let's talk about where we are now. We have this year we will have over 45,000 students in the Oklahoma City public school system. We have 55 neighborhood elementary schools. Whoop, did I go too fast? No. We've got 17 secondary schools, 13 charter schools. 45% are Hispanic and our largest growing population. 27% African American, 20% Caucasian, 5% Native American, 3% Asian, 13 have disabilities or special needs, 13%. 28% are English language learners or ELL. 4% are homeless. 4% means 1,800 children do not have a place that is home. So, we are in a situation where in 2011, only 57% of our third graders scored proficient on the state reading exams. 25% of those children did not graduate. So we are also in a situation where we have diversity, and we have really, as I've viewed this, almost 3 different districts. We have the northeast section of Oklahoma City, which includes Douglas High School, Star Spencer High School, Northeast Academy, and Centennial can go to this district or to the Northwest District, and all of those feeder schools. We then have the North Central Oklahoma City with Centennial, Northwest Classen, Classen SAS, John Marshall, and all of those feeder schools. We've also got the South Oklahoma City, Southeast High School, Capitol Hill High School, U.S. Grant, and all of those feeder schools. So the question is, how do we service and meet the needs of all of those districts? Because certainly they are different. And I think that we are quickly understanding that it's not necessarily that one size fits all. So I want you to imagine with me where we might be. I want you to see what I see. Can you imagine a large circle, like a target? In the center of that target are 45,000 children. Children of different nationalities, different colors, different languages, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and different levels of skills. Imagine all sectors of our community focused on that target, focused on the well-being and success of those 45,000 children, with an unwavering goal that our children, regardless of their background or their zip code, graduate from high school prepared for college or career ready to earn a living wage. Statistics show, and Bob Summers I've been working with, statistics show that most often, in fact 90% of the people earning a living wage have an ACT score of 22. And every child in this district is absolutely capable of achieving this goal. Can you imagine if we were improving not just health and nutrition, but our children's environmental health, considering the whole child with no shortcuts? We've got to break the cycle of continuing poverty and abuse. We've got to consider what's happening with these children when they're not at school. Imagine if we all committed to include our 45,000 children and their education as part of the renaissance of Oklahoma City. Can you imagine the OKC district raising the bar to a minimum ACT of 22 at graduation? How would that affect growth and sustainability in our neighborhoods? What would that do to increase our ability to recruit business to Oklahoma City? So how do we make this happen? I believe that this requires high expectations for students, for teachers, for care providers and families. And our support is necessary to help them do their best. I believe this is possible, and I believe it's possible now. I think we can make this happen, and some of the things that we're doing, and I'm just going to outline 4 of them. The first one is that we have hired a national search firm. For most search firms to do a competent job, it's going to take 9 to 12 months. So we want, this final phase would be done in early spring or late spring, early summer of 2014. So we want the best superintendent with the background to lead this district based on our needs and our goals. The second thing is, as was very clear in yesterday's newspaper, the Oklahoma City Public School Board will vote to appoint an interim superintendent on Monday at 10 o'clock in the Little Theater at Northwest Classen High School, and you're all invited. So we want a leader that understands Oklahoma City, our changing demographics, our challenges, and our values. Someone who values public education with the ability to understand large and complex organizations. And trust me, the Oklahoma City Public School District is a large and complex organization. So we have a tremendous opportunity to have a leader that not only provides a vision, but with proven leadership while we conduct the national search that's necessary. The third thing is the current school board is committed to making smart investments. Smart investments in our children, in our teachers, and in our principals with our public tax dollars. This is our money. So no more book of the month or flavor of the week approach to the investments we make in our students. We're focusing on implementing initiatives that are measurable, effective, and proven with outcomes, and the ones that don't do that, we're going to eliminate them. And the fourth thing is during this school year, the community expects us to continue to improve and make a difference in the lives of our students. We want to ensure to have highly effective teacher in every classroom. I think we've got more teachers in their spots at the beginning of this year than we have in several years. So we're very grateful for everyone at the Oklahoma City staff that has made that happen and Carl's leadership for that. We've implemented a district-wide school uniform policy, and we have efforts that will make direct impact on student achievement. So let me briefly describe a few of the programs that we're going to be implementing. We're going to be using the full implementation of OHI. I believe that you have seen over the years some of that data. For nearly a decade, the district has been paying to implement a survey instrument that measured satisfaction and culture in the district with very definitive outcomes. We will implement OHI at every site with fidelity. OHI is not a silver bullet, but it will be paired with other teaching tools based on principles of great expectations and the teacher-leader effectiveness model. The key to all of this is having the data and the tools to understand how this district functions and how it functions as a whole integrated unit, and to be able to make the adjustments when and if they are needed. So our other area is health and wellness, and following the lead of Mayor Cornett, we want to embrace the growing body of evidence that proves healthy bodies lead to healthy minds. And when you're talking about a district with 91%, over 91% free and reduced lunch, this is truly an issue that many of us don't realize. So we want to increase the physical education opportunities and promising health beyond the individual student to include their families. And we can do that. And we can create communities in our schools. This will be enhanced by the 2007 bond issue and the physical education classrooms at every elementary school, which should be completed by 2015. Also contributing to this is the new state law that was championed by Governor Mary Fallin, and it was passed in 2012, and it's known as the Shared Use Law. This makes it easier for the district to keep our facilities open after hours and on weekends. We must empower building principals to work with the community to utilize the shared use law to make every school the heart and soul of the neighborhoods that they call home. Doing so will increase community engagement and lead to stronger student achievement in every district. We also we are planning to expand the learning opportunities. And studies show that the learning opportunities, the learning loss, accounts for nearly 2/3 of the 9th grade achievement. That's in the summer learning loss, and in that gap. And beginning next summer, we're excited to announce a partnership with Teach for America to expand their very successful summer program to Oklahoma City. This program provides free, standard-driven summer school to nearly 2,000 Oklahoma City public school students. This is in critical summer months, and in addition, it provides meaningful professional development for the teachers. The next area is the parental and community engagement. Our students are more than just members of the classroom, they're members of families and this community. If we partner effectively and authentically with our students, our families, and our communities, doing this will give us the potential to multiply our efforts and have an impact on the student's life that is far beyond the classroom. Educating our children is a team effort. It's our job to ensure that we're working as a team. It's time to take the focus beyond the 7 hours spent in the classroom every day. Everything is connected when it comes to educating our students and their ability to learn. We can have all the leadership, highest level of technology, and best programs, but we cannot succeed unless parents and community members are engaged in student learning and have a sense of pride and ownership in our schools. When we focus on the children, when our focus is this target, when these are the focus that we're looking at, we will connect and engage the parents and the community members, allowing them to see with their own eyes the value of our schools and the transformational power of public education. We must get the community into the schools and get the teachers and school leaders into the community and help them connect. We've got to build relationships, and we've got to trust each other. If we want to bring this city to the absolute, we are such a brand, and for this city to thrive and reduce crime and grow, it's all about education. So now I want us all to go back to this target as I started, and just consider the target as an organizational chart with students at the center of it all, not lines and boxes that delineate the roles and responsibilities, but focused commitment. Everyone focused on the bullseye, the children, every oar in the water, and everyone rowing in the same direction. There's a quote that I happen to love from The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, which says that if you could get all the people in an organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. Oklahoma City is the very essence of this remark. Oklahoma's proved this to be true with our response to the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. Oklahoma City proved this again with Maps for Kids and Maps 3. OKC is showing the way for our country. Just consider the renaissance that is taking place in this city. OKC is a brand that's known around the world. OKC, we're known for courage, our commitment, our economy, and of course, our OKC Thunder. We are all in this together, and our vision remains the same. All our children, regardless of their background or their zip code, graduate from high school prepared for college or career ready to earn a living wage. We need to commit and all row in the same direction, and we can create the most outstanding educational district in the country. Working together, we can do this. We are OKC. Thank you.
So do we have any questions for Lynne? Remember I told you at the beginning to write them down. Any questions? Well, I guess oh, there's one right over here.
Before I ask my question, I got to tell you how happy you made me with that speech. I was so thrilled with the presentation you made. Oklahoma City only has 13 census tracts with extreme poverty. I taught in a school that served 2 of those. Since we're here at a chamber event, if we could have the chamber or somebody do a cost-benefit analysis of full-service community schools for those 13 census tracts, what do you think it would result in, both in terms of the benefits and also pulling people together towards full-service community schools?
I can just tell you that it's a new day, and we're open to anything, and if it works, we're going to look at it. Because I've got an actual board member that wants to start housing children, if that's what we need to do in schools, if they're homeless. We cannot continue to do what we've been doing and expect a different result. This system was set up at the turn of not this past century, but the 1900s, not to educate anyone, but to take children out of the fields and go into an industrial revolution. Why are we cramming them into this same system that does not work? We have an opportunity. This is Oklahoma City. There's not another place in the country that has the heart and the mind to wrap itself around and do what we need to do for our children. So thank you.
Great presentation. We saw the video before that talked about picking up a brick in the community and how these are our children. And you also talked in your speech about community involvement. How are some ways that the business community and the community in general can get involved?
Well, certainly the Foundation for the Oklahoma City Public Schools is one way immediately. I mean, what they're doing, you just don't understand when we have so many teachers that go to school and their budgets have been so cut, what it means to be able to go and get their supplies from the foundation. So, and neighborhoods. If you're in a neighborhood where they want to look what they can do, we need mentors, we need people that can read, we need people that can be with these students. These are our children, and we have a responsibility If we're going to be everything that we can be in Oklahoma City, we have to have an educational system that people respect and understand that if they move here, we don't have to tell them, the Chamber of Commerce doesn't have to say, well, you better move north if you want to educate your children. You can't live in the city. It's just unacceptable.
I think we've got a question over here.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, are there specific programs that the board is considering to increase parental engagement?
Well, we have looked at, and I'm just going to say, I'm not trying to skirt your, I don't know that I could just name specific, but I know that we're looking at more early childhood. We're looking at new ways that the community can be involved. We're certainly looking at, we've been working with a company out of Florida that actually comes in and takes the front of the cafeteria and turns it into an atmosphere that is user-friendly, brings the children in, brings the families in, and we can turn those into actually learning centers. I would like to see the community teaching Spanish as well as learning English.
Other questions? I think we've got one more.
The career academies are going very well in the schools that have implemented them, and if you get in touch with either the foundation or us, we absolutely can direct you on how to get involved in those academies, and they are going to be a wonderful asset to the Oklahoma City Public Schools.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Great questions and a good dialogue, and it sounds to me like we're all on the same page and we're just trying to figure out how we can help the district and the school board. I think each of our speakers has reiterated the importance of quality education for our region as well as for our city and for our state. On the state level, Governor Fallin is working to build bridges between K-12 and higher ed. For too long, we've thought of these as separate entities, and the business community hasn't engaged as far as expressing and sharing what the needs are for our workforce. But that's no more. We are increasing the percentage of high school graduates who enroll in higher education, and all parties are making that a top priority. Earlier this year, the Chamber took a group of about 70 people, business leaders and civic leaders, to Austin, Texas for an annual intercity visit. In these visits, we get to visit with other cities and learn what they're doing well and kind of grab a hold of some best practices. While we were there, we spent a good bit of time talking with them about how they have bridged the gap between higher education and high school graduates. Prior to the Austin Chamber getting involved with the education system, 52% of Austin's high school graduates were enrolling in higher ed. After the efforts and the joint programs, they saw an increase to 64%. Their chamber also stepped in to help underperforming schools and district plans to implement measurable goals, including incentive pay for principals of traditionally underperforming schools who met their goals. Our group was very impressed, and we at the Chamber, the Education Committee, are working on how do we take some of those best practices and implement them within Oklahoma City. One key initiative for the Chamber over the past 12 years has been the implementation of Maps for Kids. It's been a great way to transform the physical asset of our school buildings, and after investing $700 million into our school, it's drawing to a close. But that doesn't mean that our work with our schools are done. Now we have to take the necessary next step to support the programming and what's going on inside of the classroom. I've never heard a member of the business community say that education is not important. We all know how critically important it is, but it is time for us to show through our actions that this body of children is our future. It is time for the business community to take a more active role in our children's education. There are two main areas that the Chamber is working toward to show our support and to help in an active way improve schools. The first is taking a leading role in helping to get parents into our schools. We all, I think, would agree that supportive and involved parents are a critical element to a child's success in their education. And we as business leaders have the opportunity to set that as a value, a priority, and a standard to encourage our parents to participate. We have the opportunity to tell parents that businesses have parents for the majority of their time. They spend more time with us than they really do in other parts of their life. Therefore, we have a tremendous opportunity to express to parents from a business perspective their need to be involved with their child's education. That's one critical element. And as business leaders, we need to support one another as we do this, but also convey that message to our employees as parents. Secondly, it is time for us to step up our own participation in the district. We've seen time and time again through our city's efforts, as Lynn said, that we can be far more successful when we come together to achieve a goal. The same goes for our education system. Successful education systems are built on successful partnerships. So let's partner. Let's take our city's success and apply it to our education system together. We are an incredible community of collaborators, and I know that if we utilize our assets, join together, we will see the results that Lynn spoke to. Before we adjourn, we would like to thank our signature sponsor one more time, Cox Business. I hope that you will join us on October 8th for our Practical Politics. It's a half-day seminar dedicated to educating and inspiring those people that are interested in public office. Breakout sessions focus on candidates and people interested in running, how to become a candidate, and all of the issues that go along with that. Please look to the Chamber as we develop out these initiatives that we've laid out and how you as individuals and you as businesses can participate and support Oklahoma City Public Schools. Thank you so much for attending, and we are adjourned.